Man, what a great snapshot into the life of our student ministry right now. Such a big part of this For the One conversation that we've been having. God is doing amazing things. And it's so cool to hear their heart. And like Chris said, our kids are doing this. Our students are doing this. Everybody is praying through this For the One initiative. And to hear their why behind what they're doing. These guys have their own commitment cards. They're going through their own process. It is just inspiring to me. Inspiring. Well, guys, welcome to Commitment Sunday of For the One. This is a big day, a day that took a long time to get here. I kind of felt like it was never going to get here, but we're here. And I'm so excited for what God is going to do today in us and through us. If you're a guest here today, first of all, I just want to say, hey, you picked a great day to be here, because you're going to get to witness something pretty cool. We've been in a conversation for a number of weeks as a church, all leading towards a moment of commitment where we cast vision for the next couple years worth of ministry, both our general budget and a new exciting expansion on the center to make room for our growing student and children's ministries. And what's going to happen today is people are going to take steps forward of commitment. If you're a guest, you might kind of go, what does that mean for me here today? Listen, today, just watch and witness, and just watch it happen, and watch what God is doing in a group of people right here in Danville. It's really pretty incredible, and we are thrilled to see what God is going to do next. I do also, before I dive into the text, I want to, because this is Commitment Sunday, right? There is no group maybe that better represents commitment than our veterans. And I would like to take some time at this moment to recognize all members, past or present, of any of our military branches. Would you please stand so that we could honor you today? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So appropriate on a commitment weekend that you guys would stand. Your commitment to our country is so appreciated, and we don't take it for granted. We're grateful for everything that you have done. Well, as I said, we've been on a journey as a church, and I could say for the last 6 weeks, but it's really been a lot longer than that. We've got vision nights that go back into the fall, and even some other events with our leaders that go back into the summertime to cast vision for this and to begin to rally and unify together around a vision for what God is calling our church to. And the text that we've been in for a majority of this conversation has been 2 Corinthians chapter 5. We really kind of took the parable of the lost sheep that Jesus tells, the shepherd who would leave the 99 and go find one more, and combined that with 2 Corinthians 5, which is this missionary dialogue between Paul and one of the churches that he had planted. They were particularly needing to be refreshed in the area of ministry engagement, and they had a particular cause that he was trying to connect them to in the area of generosity, and so it served as a great launch pad for all of our conversations. And in 2 Corinthians 5, we've been kind of jumping around the passage a little bit, but we've been highlighting a few different words along the way and kind of using those as the basis of each of our 6 weeks worth of conversation. So we started like week 1 with the word crazy. Paul starts out by talking about if we are out of our mind for doing the ministry that we do, if we're crazy, well, we do it because the next verse said, because Christ's love compels us. It compels us. That was week 2 of our series. And we are compelled because we're confident. That was week 3. We are confident that the life we live in the body is to be lived for the Lord, that this is a temporary stop on the way to an eternal destiny. We are confident because of the death, burial, and resurrection that this life, there's more beyond this life. And so in this life, we want to make a commitment to be complete and to let God do the work that he wants to do in us. So we said we want to look at that and say, God, if there's anything in us that we need to grow in or be shaped in, we're all ears, and then we'll commit to that. We will be committed to that ministry or that cause that you've given us. We'll commit. And we do that, and we'll wrap up today because we are convinced. Because we are convinced. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 14 said, Christ's love compels us because we are convinced that one died for all, and therefore all died. And he died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised again. Paul says he is convinced that there's only one way to live, and it's to live for Jesus. Now that is an outstanding change from where he previously was. Paul used to oversee the torturing, the killing, the imprisoning of Christians. He did everything he could possibly do to make life for any Christians miserable. He admits that in Acts chapter 26, verse 9, speaking of convinced, he says, I was convinced before I met Jesus, I was convinced that I ought to do everything possible to oppose the name of Jesus of Nazareth. So this is a remarkable change in his life, to go from I used to be convinced that I had to devote my life to opposing Jesus to now I am convinced that he is the best way to live, and to live for him is the fullest life. Have you ever been convinced of something and then changed your mind? Have you ever been convinced that something was the truth or something was the way, and then you change your mind later? Probably because you were confronted with reality. Like when I was a little boy, I was convinced, and I say convinced, and I mean it with a capital C, that I was going to play in the NBA. Like I was convinced. Are there any other little boys like me? There's a bunch of you. We were convinced that we were going to play in the NBA. And so I could watch Michael Jordan and the Bulls on TV, and then I could go out to my basketball hoop in the driveway, and I could convince myself that my path and my future was just like that. I mean, there wasn't even a shred of doubt. Like I didn't wonder. I didn't say if everything goes right, this could happen. I was convinced that this was going to happen. Over time, my view changed. I began to get a different level of conviction. I think it was first when I realized, hold on a second. My mom is 4'11". Half of my genetics come from her. My dad is maybe 5'10". And he didn't even play sports in high school. I might be in trouble. My vertical leap doesn't even hit 25 inches. I don't think there's anybody whose mom was 4'11", whose dad is 5'10", whose vertical is under 25 inches, who's ever made the NBA. I had to realize that there were realities staring me in the face, that I could be convinced, but the reality was telling me something otherwise. So it wasn't all bad. It just was helpful for me to realize, hey, you know what? That was one way to see life. But the realities are in front of you now, and maybe it'd be best if you adjust your life to the realities. And so that's what starts to happen. As I'm getting older, I'm learning that that's happening more and more and more. I'm having to adjust to realities. I literally told my wife this morning, I think I might need readers soon. That's something that I was confident I was never going to need to worry about, but I'm starting to worry starting today. Reality is making me change what I'm convinced of. Paul, what changed him? How did he go from convinced he needs to do everything to oppose Jesus possible to convinced to live his life as full on and convince as many people as possible to do the same? What happened? What changed? He met Jesus on the other side of the tomb. Like when you encounter someone who was dead and then they come back to life, it'll change you. It will change you. And it wasn't just that he started to believe or understand Jesus was alive. It was that he started to realize that because he was alive, it meant something. It meant something, and it meant something very personal to him. It wasn't just the fact that Jesus was alive. It was that Paul became convinced that Jesus had love and grace and forgiveness for him. For him. He was undeserving of it. He was even unbelieving for the majority of his life. But God's love for him was unrelenting, and he pursued him, and he found him, and he met him where he was. He didn't leave him there, but he met him where he was. God pursued him like a shepherd pursues one more sheep that's lost. And once found, Paul's life was never the same. I mean, it was almost like once the grace was given to him, he became grace-driven. Grace given equaled grace-driven. And from that point forward, he did everything he could possibly do to redirect the zeal that he once had against Jesus towards Jesus and towards proclaiming the message of Jesus. The love that he found, he wanted to share with everybody. He would write in Romans about what he's convinced of when he says in verse 38, I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Jesus Christ our Lord. What a change. From I'm convinced to do everything I can to oppose Jesus to I am convinced that there is nothing greater than the love of Jesus, and that once you find it, nothing can separate you from it. He went everywhere with that message. I mean, he strategically went to places where it could go the farthest. One of the things he had was both drive and influence, and he leveraged them as far as he possibly could. He went to Rome, which was the political center of the world. And the book of Romans and the church planted in Rome was his attempt to get the gospel to the most influential political place in the world. He then went to Ephesus, which was the religious center of the world. And he planted a church, and he wrote the book of Ephesians to do the very same thing there, and influenced through that path. He went to Athens, which was the educational center of the world. And he shared the gospel, and he taught about Jesus, and he planted a church. And then he went to Corinth, which was the commercial center of the world at that time. The book that we've been reading, 1st and 2nd, or 2 Corinthians, that's Corinth. That's a church in Corinth. And then from there, more churches were planted, satellite churches at smaller locations. He began to correspond with these churches. So our Bible that we're reading, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Philippians, Galatians, Colossians, Ephesians, all of these were written by the guy who said, I used to be convinced that I needed to do everything possible to oppose Jesus. But once I met him face to face and his grace was applied to my life, I became convinced to live for him to my dying day. And even hardship wouldn't change his conviction. His last book, his last words were written to his ministry protege named Timothy. And in 2 Timothy 1:1, in a jail cell, facing death, when many maybe said, Paul, do you wish you would have changed how you were? Do you wish you would have backed off? Do you wish you would have took it a little easy? Do you wish you wouldn't have been so zealous? He said this, no, because I know whom I've believed, and I am convinced that he is able to guard what I've entrusted to him until that day. Nothing was going to change his level of conviction and what he was convinced of once he met Jesus. That's been the theme in so many ways of this For the One initiative. It's about living with those who don't know Jesus in mind, but living for Jesus at all times, in all places, in all expressions, with everything that we are. I'll tell you what I'm convinced of right now. And I'll put Jamie in that conversation because she and I have had a lot of conversation about this. We are convinced that we are on the edge of something really big here. And twofold reasons. And this is just the evidence that we see. Number one is we see a level of excitement and engagement from a church like we've never been a part of before. Like across the board. People who've been at church for years, decades, a year, 10 minutes, doesn't matter. Everybody realizing, man, there's something that God is doing here and we want to be a part of it. And the stories that we're hearing are inspiring. That's been one piece of this. Let me tell you the other piece, and this might be surprising, but give me a second to unpack it. All of the difficulties that people seem to be going through right now. That's an indicator to me that something big is about to happen. Because the closer you get to living out God's call on your life, the harder the enemy is going to fight. The wind blows the hardest at the top of the mountain. Don't think for a second that it's accidental that you were fighting with your spouse when you came in today on Commitment Sunday, or that the weekend went particularly bad, or that the washing machine went out, right, on Friday, or that we're in the middle of a government shutdown and the checks hasn't been coming in for a while. I could go on and on and on. Maybe it's a difficult situation for you in other ways. And I hear those stories and I just go, yet again, an indicator that there's something big that God is wanting to do. And today is powerful, I think, because it's a chance for us to lean in to what God is calling us to do. Today is a special day. It's a big day. It's a big day for us as a church, and we've been convinced personally, Jamie and I, to lead out in this way. And we've been challenged personally in the area of generosity. We've been talking about it for 6 weeks, but we've been praying about this for much longer than that. We feel compelled to lead out in this way. God really challenged us to reset the floor on where our generosity was. When I say reset the floor, I mean like it's not going to go below this point. We also felt compelled to try to set a new height in where God was taking us in this journey. And you know what's moved us there? I think in part has been the stories that we hear week after week, the life change that we get a chance to witness. And we see life, her and I, from two very different perspectives every Sunday morning. She's usually serving down in our kids' ministry, 2 of the 3 services, and then comes in for one service with our fam together. So her world that she sees on one end of the building and the world I see on the other end, we sit down on Sunday, usually after lunch and a nap, and then we kind of combine stories to figure out how did the day go. And it's like, it's movie stuff, guys, like what's happening. It's stuff that it's beyond what I could ever imagine. And it's happening right here in our town, in our backyard. I'm convinced that there's something special here. And I'm also convinced that it was time for us, the Rector family, to have a conversation with God, a fresh one, about kingdom generosity. It's not that we weren't givers or weren't involved in this, but it was time for a fresh conversation. It's never a bad thing to review where your heart is, to look at where your allegiances are, where your priorities are. And through that conversation, we came to a place where we felt convinced that there was no better time than right now to commit together for the one. I think commitment is the difference between knowing what you think is right and being absolutely convinced. So convinced that it won't let you live any other way than through commitment. And so here's what I know. Is that as a church, as we do this, as we walk through this experience together this morning, that God's got something bigger than what we have in mind. He did 6 years ago. And I have to believe that he does again. Have something immeasurably more than what we can even ask or imagine. So I want to ask you, are you ready? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to step into the fullness of what God has for you and to experience the blessings that come from trusting him in this area of your life? What we've seen over the last few weeks is that so many are, and so many are stepping into it. We've been praying that 100% of the people that call Northview home would engage with us over this time period and pray specifically over the 2-year time frame of 2026 and 7 and say, God, what do you want me to do with everything you've given us? We did Advanced Commitment Night 10 days ago, and a group of people came forward. And if you wondered why we did that, why didn't we just just do it all on today? There's actually kind of a biblical precedent for it, and it's found in the Old Testament in 1 Chronicles 29. David is building the temple, and it's actually Solomon's going to build the temple, but David ends up raising the resources to build the temple. And that very thing happens. They don't call it advanced commitment night, but that's basically what happened. David and then all the leaders just went first. And they said, this is what God's calling us to do. And then everybody else in the congregation followed suit. It was a special night, a powerful night, and yet another indicator of what God is doing in our midst right here in Northview. I want to show you a video from that night because I think it captures really the momentum that has built around For the One. So turn your attention to the screen. Check this out.
It means for us, like, seeing our community with God's eyes, like looking for the one that needs to be here, that needs to experience Jesus, maybe for the first time.
Well, the one for me is family members that don't know Christ, and I want them to know Christ. You know, even though they might live far away, but I'm going to be committed for this. And not everybody that comes in also. Amen.
God has blessed us so much, and now it is our opportunity to look for the one and bless the ones coming forward.
For my wife and I, For the One means not only investing in the house of God that hopefully our children grow up in and come to know Jesus in, but also just trusting God with all of our resources and all the things that He's so abundantly provided to us.
Well, For the One gives us an opportunity to help Northview reach out to the community and find those that need to know Jesus.
We have seen the impact Sunday mornings and evenings make on young people of all ages here, and we want to continue contributing to even more lives being changed for the better and having the space to comfortably host these young people.
For the One is an initiative we had to get behind as a couple, me and Brittany. It's an opportunity to get people through the doors that haven't heard the message of Jesus, and we're just putting it up for eternity. I just feel like this is the thing we need to be doing as a family.
Man, I hope you were able to hear and be encouraged and inspired by those stories and to hear the why behind the commitments, some of the commitments that are going to be made. That was a powerful night. I mean, God was really doing some work in hearts. I mean, when it was all said and done, I think I talked to a couple different people that said, you know, I think I turned in a card, but I even think that God's stretching me in a different way beyond what I wrote down. And I thought, how vulnerable to share that and to say that and to go, I thought I knew, I thought I was engaged, but God, I want you to really speak to me here. So let me talk a little bit about the importance of what we're about to do. I think it's fair to say that very few times do we have a moment where we get to make a commitment that shapes years afterward. I mean, like, I think of big decisions in life, my decision to follow Jesus, my decision to marry Jamie, my decision to be a pastor, to go to Bible college, my decision to come to Northview. All of those were moments where a lot of prayer and a lot of dialogue and a lot of thought, all of that went into that. But there was a moment that a decision was made, and then it was a whole bunch of years after that things were walked out. We gather every week here as a church, but we don't always every week have a moment that we could clarify and go, this moment is a commitment moment that then has a walk it out type effect over years, even decades. It's been 6 years since we did something like this before. It's a big day. It's a big moment. If you're leaning in right now and praying and asking God, what is He calling you to do? I invite you to listen and to let Him lead. There's a commitment card on your seat when you came in, and that card is a card that you can use to think through. The top part of the card is basically a worksheet for you to be able to think through 2 years from December of this year through December of 2027. Any regular, weekly, recurring giving or monthly giving, in addition to any stored resource, one-off type gift that you might want to give. Right in the middle is really the main number that we're looking for, something that would encompass all giving at Northview over 2 years for you and your family. I would ask you to get ready here in just a moment to make that commitment. If you're struggling a little bit or wondering about, do I need to do it? Let me give you a couple different reference points. And one, it is biblical. We just been in Corinthians. Paul asked the Corinthian church to make a commitment to follow through with something that God was calling them to do, and they rallied behind it and did it. It's very helpful for the planning of the next steps for what we're about to do as a church, and timelines and everything associated with it. Those that were at Advanced Commitment Night, I want to invite you to come and do it again and turn in a card again. We're not going to add them together, so you don't have to worry about that. But I want you to be a part of this too as everybody goes in this moment. So in just a moment, the band is going to play behind me and just give us a few minutes. Like I'm going to walk off the stage here for a few minutes and just give everybody a chance. One more chance to pray and think about what God is calling you to do. Some of you came in knowing exactly what your number was, what God was calling you to commit. Some of you might be between numbers trying to pray through it. Use this time to do it. Some of you might have come in convinced you were not going to be a part of this conversation or not going to be a part of this Commitment Sunday. I want to invite you, for the sake of seeing God move in your life, to let faith overcome any fears that you might have and to live for something greater in this moment. So let's just take a moment, a couple minutes together, just to pray, to write, and to think, to allow God to speak to our hearts. Lord, we're listening now. God, we ask that you would just come by your Spirit, show us what's next, and give us the courage to walk it out. So, this is my lovely bride. Most people see us quite frequently on Sundays, but totally separate from each other. So it's nice to have you up here on stage. Literally had to pull her out of the nursery this morning so she could come be here with me. But she is the pastor behind the pastor. And it's really our joy to be here. And when I say immeasurably more can be accomplished, I mean, what we've seen happen over 10, 11 years here has been really remarkable. It is our joy to serve you and to be here. There's nowhere we'd rather be. And to see the steps of faith that have been taking place over the years has been really breathtaking for us, and it's encouraging to us, and it challenged us. That's why the first dollars of this initiative, before anybody even knew For the One was the theme, came from us, because we had to be the first ones in on this conversation. And so in just a moment, we're going to make our commitment to For the One, and we'll invite you to do that very same thing. As I look out here at this crowd, there's more people sitting here right now than there were 10, 11 years ago when we came. I mean, literally more, significantly more. And when I think that part of For the One, a significant piece of For the One, is related to our children and students' growth. There weren't 20 kids in the entire church at that time. And to see what God is doing and to see how He has transformed the community, specifically through our kids and our students and our young families, it is so good and just inspiring. And it makes us want to do more and to ask tough questions about how far can we go? What's the next step on what we do? Because this life is so temporary, so fleeting. And what we do and what we talk about is so important and so eternal. There's just nothing that's too much for the one. So I want to invite you to stand, if you would, and we're we're going to head down and make our commitment. And I want to invite you. The band's going to be playing softly for a bit, and then they're just going to go right into some worship. So for the next couple songs, at any point when you're ready, just come down. There's buckets on either side of the stage that you can drop your commitment in. And let this be a moment of joy. I mean, give somebody a high five, hug somebody, put a smile on your face. I mean, what an incredible thing that God is doing right here in our midst. So again, as God leads you, would you join us in making your commitment?